friends, to another episode of Ice Cave Radio. I almost slipped up.
You almost did it.
Yeah.
I was wondering how long it would take one of us to do it, and I honestly thought I would be the first.
But we haven't yet. That's the beauty of it. We have not yet. But this is, in fact, Ice Cave Radio. This is a podcast about Star Wars Unlimited and all kinds of other Star Wars card gaming experiences. I am Flake. Doa is not here, but that means that each of us are going to math it out to bring you a full force episode. Charmer, what's up?
I appreciate the full force episode because whether it was on purpose or not, I know that I'm slowly and subtly influencing you and some of our other friends like Logan into just becoming a pun master like myself. So I appreciate that.
I do my best. You've influenced me in many positive ways and negative ways, frankly.
I was going to say that wasn't one of them.
Definitely not. No, but we do have another episode. Doa, again, it's a very busy month for Doa. We all love him. We all appreciate him. He is, unfortunately, in the midst of life, and that is a tough task. So we are covering the base this time.
You know what else we're covering?
Oh, what, Charmer? What?
The cave poll of the week.
Yes, friends, it's another cave poll. As always, every Sunday you can check out the cave poll at Ice Cave Radio on Twitter. Give us your opinion, because this week we want to sort of dig in. People are starting to see the cards coming out and seeing the beauty of a lot of these cards, the various different collecting aspects. But we want to ask you, we did ask you, the cave poll this week was, what are your Star Wars Unlimited collecting ambitions? And, Charmer, frankly, the options were trade down for value, as in anything that isn't just the base version, I'm going to trade it away, get extra value, complete the collection that way. We've got, hey, whatever I open, I keep. Showcase, foil, hyperspace, hyperfoil, doesn't matter. I open it, it's mine, I keep it. Hyperspace or foils only. So I'm either going to bling out my deck with foils or bling it out hyperspace version. That's what my ambitions are. Or I want all the hyperfoils and the showcases. I want to really boss out this collection. And I'm going to ask you what your selection was this week, Charmer.
All right. This only went this way because of the wording. So I selected all hyperfoils showcase, but I selected it because you said, what are your collecting ambitions? Now, I am fully aware that my wallet will not likely make this a reality, but I have been converted. I was originally just going to go into this and say, okay, there are certain Star Wars characters that I really like, and I want to get, their stuff in hyperspace or showcase if they're a leader or whatever. And that was it. That was going to be good enough for me. That's usually what I do in the other games that I play. If something clicks with me, then I want it. And if not, don't really care. And then we got the cards in our hands, and I got to see how pretty the hyperspace foils look. And then we got to see some of the showcases. And now that they have been, trickling out some of the other showcase arts as well, I just know that they're all going to be gorgeous, and now I want them all. So my ambition, right? My goal is I'm going to try to get one of everything.
I think
now, I say try.
Yeah. I mean, again, the wording of it, ambition, it's just like everybody has their goal and they'll work towards it, whether they complete it or not. It's the journey is what I'm told. No, it's owning it is also part of it. So I have been on the record multiple times. People in the Discord, by the way, which is popping off. The Discord is on fire, and we thank you all for listening. If you're not part of it,
yes,
we are probably, by the time that this gets published, we have crossed over 100 members in the Ice Cave Radio Discord server. The conversation are flowing. All the different people are like, can we get a channel for this? Can we get a channel for that? And then they're just on fire. Somebody said, hey, I know, Flake, what you're saying, because I went in there with the share your stuff and check out all these new spoilers of all the new showcases and hyperfoils and whatever. And I said, listen, this is the first time, I think, in forever that I have told myself, no, I am I'm getting all the hyperspace cards. That is the ambition. I have set up my binder to reflect that. Let me see if it's behind me, but I did the collecting aspect. I'll show people later. But my binder typically, when I'm talking about like my master collection, quote unquote, is for Flesh and Blood, which is I have a dozen binders all sorted and whatever, but in the binder goes only the base versions of the cards. In this one, it is the foils come out, it's base cards and then hyperfoils and hyperspace cards. And as I collect more hyperspace, they take the place of the base set cards. And this is the first time in Star Wars, CCG, Lord of the Rings, Magic, Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, whatever, that this is the first time that I have collected cards and have told myself, no, we are going for the gusto here. I have selected hyperspace only. That is my ambition. I want my whole collection to be all hyperspace. First time.
I think that's fair. And to be honest, I actually expect... I don't think that it'll be reflected in the cost as far as the demand goes, but I expect the non-foil hyperspace cards to still be relatively commodified because there are those people who just don't like foils. And the fact that there are hyperspace versions that are, non-foil, I think is actually going to appeal to a lot of people. So I do think that there's going to be more than just you kind of on this mission. I have a crow brain. And so I say, oh, shiny, I need it. It glitters. I'm that fish. If you've ever seen like a spinning lure, I'm that fish that totally gets got by the spinning lure.
I can see that. Absolutely. And this is what I'm worried about is precisely what you said, is the fact that I think I got to double check what the rarity drop is on this, if it's the same or more scarce than standard foils are. But I am part of that exact crew that you mentioned. I do not like foil cards. They're pretty. They just haven't been done right in forever. I will be just blunt about this. And obviously, I live in a climate where in the summer, it's like 35 degrees Celsius and 85% humidity, disgusting. And in the winter, it could drop to minus 40 Celsius and dry as a bone. So there's no winning here. It's as pretty as the foils are. I am working on a binder currently, which is only I want one-ofs of the hyperfoils. Any hyperfoil I open, I'm keeping, and I might use it for trade fodder. However, ultimately, that is the goal. And I just hope that I find the right trading partners to get it. Like if anybody's listening to me, yeah.
If you've got some hyperspace foils and I've got some regulars, it sounds like
we can make some deals.
We might have, something going on.
But I will throw this out there to the community. If your ambition is to get the basic foils, talk to me. We'll do some wheeling and dealing. I'm totally willing. We meet at an event or something that we're at. I will bust out the binder. The objective for me is I want 3-ofs of all the hyperspace cards. Let's go to the results, Charmer, because it's a poll. In the lead is what I thought it would be at 41.5%. Yeah. Whatever I open, I keep. And I think that is the majority of people. A lot of people who will play casually and just kind of have a collection, they might, look to trade for things they want. But for the most part, they want to keep the treasures they unearth. 27.7% is trade down for value. This is, I think, reflective of the fact that people want to build the decks that they want to build and not necessarily collect the whole master set. It's just like, hey, I want to build a really cool Palpatine deck. So anything that's in aggression, anything in heroism or whatever, I'm going to trade down to get things I want. If I've got like a foil Han Solo, I'm going to trade it down to get like a couple, like 2 rares that I need, 2 governors or something that I need for my deck. Ultimately, that's coming in second. Third place, hyperspace or foils only. Oh, sorry, that was last. Second place was all hyperfoils and or showcase cards at 17%. I mucked this up, but you get it. The graphics there for the video. Ultimately, Charmer, I think that for the most part, do you agree with this poll? Is this kind of what you suspected?
This is not what I expected, actually. So I expected trade down for value to be higher. I expected that to actually win. I do understand a lot of folks with the like whatever I open I keep thing, but and maybe it's, it would be interesting to run this like for each set, because it might just be that the game is so new that people are just excited and they're like, okay, whatever I open I keep because it's new, right? But I think over time you're going to see people that they will fall into either, hey, I'm just going to trade for base versions of everything, or I want like my specific, like your niche, right? I want the hyperspace non-foils, or me, the total bling, if you will. So I expected that to be higher in general, even if it didn't outright win. Only 27.7% for trade down for value just feels low to me for some reason, because I've been to a lot of card game events, and there's usually a lot of wheeling and dealing going on both at tables and at vendors. So this does feel a little weird to me.
But think, nearly 70% of people are like, I'll either keep what I get or look to build a collection through trading and bartering or whatever. So overall, I think that's fairly reflective of what the community is. 70% of them are going to be playing casually, build the one or two decks that they want, and move forward that way. There you go. That is your Ice Cave poll, your Ice Cave Radio poll of the week, every Sunday at Ice Cave Radio on Twitter. Headlines, Charmbaka, are relatively light, mainly because we are kind of really rapidly approaching the fact that, hey, we are like a week away or a week and a half away or so, whatever, from pre-release, and then a week after that is the big shebang. That's where everybody's going to start going haywire and opening up their stuff. But they did drop us with the comprehensive rules, and I think that is incredibly important, because this is your baseline. This is your constitution, as it were, when it comes to the game. Any questions you have that cannot be answered by this, well, then you got a problem.
I was most excited to see the comprehensive rules finally being released, because this is step one toward them officially opening a judge program. Now, we know that one is coming. They've talked about it, right? But before you can study for any sort of judge test, you have to have rules. And obviously with the pre-release, my pre-release is 8 days from now. I'm so excited. Can't believe it. I feel like we've been covering this game for forever, and in 8 days I get to play in an actual event. Obviously, the judge program won't be live in time for the pre-release, but those are meant to just be low stakes, enjoy the game. Like, I'm still going to play to win mine, obviously, but it's not meant to be like a big top tier event. But again, comprehensive rules are step one to getting people primed for judge programs. And I always, always, always give my flowers to judges at card game events, because they really, really are the unsung heroes of any large-scale event. They show up. They are spending the entire weekend dealing usually with players that either have complex questions, and they almost always have to make some sort of ruling that's going to make somebody unhappy one way or the other. And they do everything for really the love of the game. Like, yeah, a lot of times judges get their compensation, and they should, don't get me wrong, but they show up for an entire weekend and spend most of the time not playing the game they love. And so they are like the only other ones outside of people who do commentary and casting like we do that fall into that same thing. And you know me, any event that I go to, the minute it ends, I'm like, all right, I want to draft now. All right, I want to play, because I spend all day talking about it and I want to play. And so I feel for the judges. And I hope that we get some great ones in this game, because they really, really are the unsung heroes of good events.
They're necessary. They're integral to a smooth event and everything. And you're right. This is sort of the first part. This is your study material. I invite anybody who wants to play this game at an event to actually just read the comprehensive rules. Triggers and ordering things and how things resolve is very important. The game, though it seems fairly simple on the surface, like when we were in Minneapolis, there were certain things like, how does this resolve, or how does this happen? And the questions are actually popping up in various Discords. So
yeah,
it's going to be important. The next thing is FFG also released aspect videos, which are just, you can check it out on their Twitter or whatever. They're like, 30 to 60 second recaps of what each aspect is representing. It's, you and I did a video a while ago about like sort of aspect ideology, or we wanted to, or get through it. This is just a better option. We've talked about it. It's like, okay, we know that, vigilance is kind of like your I guess white in Magic, things like that, and red is red, and cunning is kind of like blue. So this kind of just sort of encapsulates it in a very nice little package.
Yeah, you actually kind of inspired me just now, because obviously there are the Magic comparisons, but there's a lot of people that I plan on introducing to the game that are going to be coming from the Elder Scrolls Legends, and that is another game that has colors, but they were tied to like abilities that you would play in an Elder Scrolls game, and there's a lot of parallels there as well. And I might make some sort of guide for that, just because there's going to be, I think, those abundant for the Magic comparisons. But some of those other games like Tessel, like Lorcana, right? The regions, or not Lorcana, Lorcana, the colors, Legends of Runeterra. That's the other one I was thinking of, with the regions and things like that. I do think that it would be kind of neat to have if you're coming from X game series.
That would be a really cool series for us to do. I think between all of us, we could probably knock our heads together to do like all right, here's like a 5-minute video or a 10-minute video of like, if you've come from this game, this is the similarities. Lord knows I played enough.
It only triggered because you were like, when you were talking about vigilance is white, I was like, actually it's willpower, which technically is white in Tessel, but like it's really close to what willpower was in Tessel. And then I just was quickly running through my head, and I was like, oh yeah, it's also it's like a white and blue. So blue is intelligence in the Elder Scrolls Legends, is basically what vigilance is. It's that combination of the two. There's a whole bunch. My wheels are turning now. I know that this is not the right time to have this discussion, but I'm actually kind of excited to do
I have to hit the button?
A few of those. Yeah, maybe.
All right, it's button time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So we're trying some new things. Last week we did the seismic charge sound effect. This time, I think what I want to do, I might call an audible just now. Tomorrow being Freaky Friday, maybe I'll just do the Babu Freak hey as the sound effect. Maybe that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It is emergency pack. Do you have your emergency pack? No, you don't, because you opened them all because you can't help yourself. I kept a few packs for exactly this reason ahead of pre-release, because and I know what you're going to do. You're going to go to an event. You're going to go to your pre-release. You're going to win a few packs. You're not going to save them. You're not going to save them. You're going to open them straight away.
No, I will save the ones from the pre-release. It was just funny because that was the reason I opened all mine. I was like, oh man, we have the pre-release coming up. I'll just get more packs there. And then I was like, oh, but now I don't have any.
Oh, well, it's starting off pretty good. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a hyperspace Boba Fett. Nice. Hyperspace rare leader.
Foil, so
oh, no, it's
exactly
common. Sorry.
What you're looking for.
Yeah, this is precisely what I'm looking for. We got a Dig Up a Swamp. So we're going to go through these because somebody in the Discord, go join the I didn't say it. Ice Cave Radio Discord. Said you guys should discuss what's a good pack one, pick one for draft. And I said, that's a really good idea. So we got a TIE Interceptor.
Fantastic card.
We've got Metal Ceremony. Jeremy
Great
Zwern.
card to give as the last card in a pack.
Yeah, Jeremy Zwern absolutely blew me out of that showcase game with this particular card. But there it is. Metal Ceremony. We got... All right. That's your seasoned shore trooper. Looking good. We've got...
I'm a big fan of that card, just in general, but even more so in limited.
System Patrol Craft. Let me know if anything strikes you as... we haven't gotten to the rares yet, but... Open Fire. I love this card. This is just straight up deal 4 damage to a unit. Why not?
Open Fire is very versatile.
Okay, I think this is Recruit. Yeah, Recruit. All right.
So one of the Waylay. Yeah. That's also fantastic. So this is actually a great pack to have this discussion, because one of the things that's also going to matter is what leaders you draft. Because I was involved in some drafts where I, for example, couldn't select villainy cards. because I locked myself out of the villainy aspect by accident.
Happened to be too. I know. I'm like, oh, I just can't do any of this.
Yeah. And so like the reason I mention it is because as you're thinking through this pack, right? Like the stuff that jumps out at me, Waylay's a great card, but we have the red removal, but there's also the tie Interceptor. And I think Interceptor is a beautiful card, but if you are like me and you locked yourself out of villainy, obviously you can't take that. So
if you're like me, there you go. We've got
snapshot reflexes.
Snapshot reflexes. That might be the last common. No, we got another one after this, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. That's an uncommon. I'm pretty sure.
That
Carabast.
Carabast. We've got
Bays.
Good old Bays Malbus. No hyperspace yet. Whoop. Oh, there's the hyperspace.
And again, speaking of the villainy,
what a great card.
If you're not locked out of villainy, this card's fantastic. I love this card.
This is beautiful. Getting a well, there goes the mystery. Oh no, I didn't even see it. You guys might have caught a glimpse, but either way, this is a hyperspace Power of the Dark Side. Great card, totally playable.
The best thing about this card is the crew that revealed it. Right when it was spoiled, I just remember that being a really awesome time.
It was great. Oh, there's the rare. So our rare is Traitorous. Just a standard steal your dude, which we like it. I like this as a sideboard card. I think it's pretty awesome.
I think it's going to be a fantastic sideboard card most of the time, but in limited, if I was in command, I would very strongly consider taking this.
You are never in command. Oh, okay. Well, you're a foil as a
Steadfast Battalion.
Steadfast Battalion. So what's your pack one, pick one there? There's a couple options. I mean, Traitorous seems pretty good. A single aspect steal your dude card. That's your rare.
Yeah.
Power of the Dark Side, also a fantastic option. I don't know if you like Carabast. Bays Malbus is in there as well. But
yeah, so this is that interesting discussion about like where your leaders are. So if you're considering playing command, I think Traitorous is outstanding. I would take that over, all things equal, I would take that over anything in the pack just because it's both removal but also theoretically plus a body. And anytime you can do removal plus a body, you are in a good spot. So I was really high on tie Interceptor for that exact same reason as well. Also, the space is, I think, under fought for and underrepresented quite a bit. And if you can blow up like their one space unit, you might get 2 or 3 free damage turns just from having space presence. So if you are in villainy, your choices are likely between the Interceptor and Power of the Dark Side. I think Power of the Dark Side is the safer choice.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, unless I'm already in command, like if I don't have command leaders, different story. But Power of the Dark Side is just so good. Plus, it's a hyperspace card.
Yeah.
TIE Interceptor takes out a Green Squadron A-Wing, and those cards are disgusting. So
yeah,
you kind of need them. All right, my
takes
friends.
Out a red 3 if somebody's picked one of those up. Takes out like honestly. Even if you're talking about like stuff in common slots, the restored arc is a real like annoyance in the early game because it just kind of hangs out there and keeps people's bases afloat. Like there's a lot of stuff that the Interceptor takes out. So from that pack, again, depending on stuff, Interceptor, Power of the Dark Side, Traitorous, and then if none of those are your jam, then like Waylay is also fantastic. If you're, hard in the cunning area, that's the other consideration.
So the other thing that we got to finally see, in terms of spoilers, again, there's really no new cards we're going to see, but we're seeing new art. So we're going to toss this into the spoilers section. We've got all of the showcase art now has been revealed, and I'm going to have them flashed up on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube. If not, you can go check them out, I believe, at swoodb.com and go have a look at that. But ultimately, friends, Cassian Andor, Chirrut, Fett, the Grand Inquisitor, Hera, IG-88, Jyn Erso, Tarkin, they all got revealed. And is there any one of these that is jumping off the page for you as being like, damn, I really need this?
It's funny because I was going to say, All right, so I love gin, right? So like for that reason alone, I really want it. But what I found to be really interesting is I have no intention of like playing much IG-88 or, if I'm being honest, Boba Fett. I know Boba Fett's actually a really powerful leader in some instances. It just wasn't something that was calling to me. But I think that art-wise, those are two outstanding pieces. And I'm like, man, I want the showcase. And if you get the showcase, you got to build a deck with it, right? So they may have won me over, or I might just like pick up the IG-88 and then like swap it in when I pick him in draft or something. But like both of those just look great to me.
To me, those were the exact two that I was going to say. In terms of art style, in terms of just the menacing presence, I like Hera Syndulla as well. I just want to give some love to the Hera character in this case, or the showcase arc. She looks so dead focused. Like the artist who did this really captured the resolve, the sort of almost this like anger, this vengeance to a degree of how she's piloting. But the stylistic approach to Fett is incredible. It's kind of like this brush paint art kind of thing. I'm not an artist. I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just going to try my best here. But if you notice, the thing about Fett as well is you've got his ship in the background, which is really cool. Like you can kind of just make it out.
The Fett one gives me like an 80s comic book vibe.
Yeah.
But I mean that like as a positive. Like that's like I was just drawn to it as like, wow, I could totally see that being, you know, something that I read as a kid. It just has that style, but I'm not normally a big Boba Fett fan.
Look at
and
IG.
This might have won me over.
Look at IG-88. Because he's got the whole thing where he's just snapping to attention to just take out a new target, right? Like you've got sort of the motion blur a little bit of being like, bam, like he's got his next target in sight. And one of his photoreceptors are kind of already looking to his right to pick up the next target. You know, it's just, God, I love it. The artwork is great. So the episode this week, Mr. Charmbaka, is just one giant sweep, one shakedown of the mailbag.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, if I said to you, hey, we have a lot of wonderful listeners and they, for whatever reason, hold us in high regard, at least enough so to send us questions. And we kept talking too much and we never, ever, ever got to their questions. What would you say to that?
I would say this is all your fault, frankly, is what I would say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
But I would say I got a bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
Quiet.
Bad feeling mailbag. That's what we're going to sort of knock out here again. We sincerely appreciate everything that you guys send us in the Discord, via our email at icecaveradio@gmail.com. All that stuff. It's incredible. The tweets. We are overwhelmed with the support and the love that you guys have sent, and we hope that you feel it coming back your way. So we truly do love this game. We truly do love you. So thank you very much for just propping us up that way. We've got two from last week that we kind of had to skirt past. So why don't you knock the first one out of the park there?
All right. So this first one is from Jackson. And Jackson says, hey guys, love the show. I got to meet Charmer at Gen Con with my dad, and that got me into the show. That, before we even go on, because there's obviously more, but that alone is one, outstanding. I always say that if people, you know, say to me, hey, you're the reason I got into X, Y, or Z, like that's the greatest compliment. But also that speaks volumes about this game, because these people met me, and despite that interaction, they still liked the game enough to continue playing, right?
Incredible. Yeah.
So outstanding.
Like, have you ever been so hungry, you walk into a McDonald's at like 1 a.m, you're like, damn, I really want some McNuggets, and you walk in and it's an absolute zoo, and you're like, not worth it. I don't care how good the nuggets are going to feel. I'm not standing in a line with all these donkeys here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of, all right, go on.
So Jackson goes on to say, I played a ton of Destiny during the pandemic with my cousins, and I loved making crazy combos. So far, I don't know how strong combo decks will be on Unlimited due to most of the cards needing to be drawn versus Destiny, where you have your characters on the board from the start. Do you think the back and forth actions will make it hard to get off 3 or 4 card combos for it to be competitively viable, since there's no guarantee key units can stay on the board until your next action? Regardless, I love this game and I can't wait to play with the real cards. We've already got a good group of people that meet and play every Tuesday. Swooze Day is what they call it. Love it. Overall, the game and your show are both amazing. Thank you for everything you've done for the community.
Well, thank you very much, Jackson. Swooze Day Tuesday is such a great thing. You've got Friday Night Magic. I think that Swooze Day Tuesday should be a thing as well. So the ball's in your court, world. Make that happen. I like this question very much because combos, you do like, you have that sort of meta pie or kind of thing, or like the triangle or however many points it'll have. It's like, okay, aggro beats control beats, mid-range, or whatever the hell it is, or mid-range beats aggro. A combo is kind of somewhere in the middle of all of this. It's just this rock, paper, scissors grenade kind of thing, and ultimately, for combo to work, typically you need to find a situation or a game wherein the rules can kind of accommodate it, where you can do your crazy nonsense without being disturbed. You can do it in Magic, and now there's obviously ways that you can, a counter spell here or something on the stack that you interact with there. But if your opponent's tapped out, you can't do anything. Same thing in Flesh and Blood. There are combo decks like Kano in Flesh and Blood that can really just blow your opponent up and win the game. That's not available here because you have to. There are going to be combos. There's going to be crazy stuff that you can concoct in your mind, but the one variable that you're not necessarily accounting for is cooperation from your opponent to allow you to do these things. And I'm going to rewind this back to a couple weekends ago in Minneapolis, where on screen I had, playing against Jeremy Zwern, there was like there's a line to winning this game, or there's a line to surviving this turn, and then he messes it up. He plays Metal Ceremony, a 0-cost card, to completely derail you, and whether he was tapped out or not, that card was always going to mess me up, but he held on to it.
Right.
And that's the thing, is that I think combo is viable. You just have to have like nerves of steel almost. You have to keep like dry passing your turn until your opponent just kind of, lets you do your thing. Or it's got to be a combo that really you insulate against and say, there's nothing you can do to stop this. There's just, and I don't think that exists just yet.
Yeah, the interesting bit is actually going to be whether or not true combo, or what most people think of where they're, talking about game-winning combos, whether or not that is supported by future sets, because it doesn't look like that's really possible in set 1. And it would not shock me if it's never truly possible in this game. What I expect instead is there to be very high value combos where you can kind of turn the tide if you pull it off, but still don't necessarily just outright win the game. I do think the back and forth actions will also obviously make it more difficult, but if somebody takes the initiative, right, they're locked out, and now you're playing solitaire for the rest of that turn. So there are windows where you might be able to pull it off, or at least threaten pulling it off. Like, there's also a world that exists where maybe the combo itself isn't really what's winning, but if you can threaten it, it changes the way that people navigate their turns, that sort of thing. But ultimately, I don't think that we're going to see any true, 3-4 card infinite combos in this game. And if we do see them, I don't expect them to be significantly powerful, because this is a game from its design, I feel like anyway, it's meant to have interaction. It's meant to have battles, right? Space battles, ground battles. For lack of a better phrase, this is a game that feels like it's meant to be won in the trenches. And the combo decks kind of don't really do that. Usually they're either trying to assemble their combo so fast that their opponent can't do anything about it, or they just stall long enough to pull it off. And if it's the latter, I think you can accomplish that with standard control archetypes and still be fine in this kind of design space for this game. But the former, if it's ever, good enough where it's competitive, like you have a bunch of people who don't like it because it feels like playing solitaire. It's a completely different game for both players at that point. So
that's to a degree what kind of turned me off from certain Magic metas, where it's like, we're currently in a standard meta where the deck to win is like Nexus of Fate, where once they get it, you just got to sit there and twiddle your thumbs while they circularly jerculate themselves to victory.
This is coming from me. Like, I don't think it would be a good thing for this game, but I'm on record as saying, and I stand by it, my favorite deck to play in Magic history was when Dragonstorm was still Type 2, or Standard. Sorry, I'll forever call it Type 2. When Dragonstorm was available in Standard, that was my favorite deck to play of all time, because it was like very nuanced and satisfying when it worked, and it was also really unfun for the other people when it worked. So I've been known to abuse combos, but I don't think it's right for this game, because all of the design space is around the characters on the board. They want you to live that Star Wars dream, and that, happens in interaction.
Yep, that's basically it. It's not within the DNA of what the game wants to be. If it happens, it'll probably be by accident, is my thought. But all right. Thank you so much, Jackson, and thank you for being a part of this awesome community that we love so much. All right, next one is from Simon. Simon says, "Oh, Charmer, I hate you. I love you." It says, "Hi, guys. Really been loving the show. You always make me laugh." Well, I appreciate that. Sidebar. I stumbled upon the fact that the mailbag segment could definitely be called the Cat's Ask. And people were all about that.
I mean, it is a pun. As far as like making people laugh, if you're watching the video version of this, I'm about to make some folks laugh. You may have noticed that I'm slowly changing my position and frame, and it's because I've realized the hydraulics in my chair are going out. So I keep sliding. So you're going to see me like struggle to get it right again.
At a certain point, the struggle in the chair becomes a matter of age and not hydraulics, but still.
Yeah. Well,
right.
I'm about halfway between the two, and that's why it's so funny. I can't gracefully adjust it anymore.
You can't have a little grace, to quote Seinfeld. So here's a question. In previous episodes, you've said that you see Mace Windu as having survived his encounter with Palpatine and Anakin and his sudden exit via the window. I recently saw a Facebook post from Screen Rant saying Samuel L. Jackson very much would like to do a Mace Windu series. Bet he would. I would like to hear your thoughts on this. A suggestion I could see as fun but unlikely is to play into what Samuel L. Jackson is known for in other roles with regards to adult language and swearing. Obviously, this would have to make the show for older viewers only. No problems there, in my opinion. Hence the very unlikely scenario. If this were done, they could start right from the point of him going out the window with the record scratch and everything. You might wonder why I'm mofoing over here right now. And then, with Samuel's usual expletive. Let's address this, because there's a second part to this question. But let's talk about this first. I think that I get it. And keep in mind that just because a former actor says that they want to see a series, what is probably missing is the context where they probably asked him, said, "Hey, Ewan McGregor did an Obi-Wan series. What about a Mace Windu series?" And what's he going to say? "No, screw that crap." No, he probably said, "Yeah, I would love to do it." So I don't know the context, but I'm sure that it has something to do with that. It's not like he just woke up one day, called Screen Rant, and said, "Hey, mother effers, I want to do a Mace Windu series," which I think is coming, dude. It's definitely coming. It's going to happen. Not a series, but he's appearing in something.
Yeah, so the rumor has always been that Andor was supposed to feature the very first F-bomb in the Star Wars universe, and then it was cut at the last minute by Disney to try to keep the rating PG-13 for that series. I will say that if Mace Windu doesn't give us the first ever F-bomb in Star Wars, it's kind of a travesty in my mind. I just feel like he deserves it and it's fitting. But I don't think that it even necessarily outside of like, and I think you could do that even for comic relief if you really wanted to, but outside of that, I don't think you really have to make it be that adult centric or themed, because listen, Sam Jackson definitely has a role, like he gets typecasted, but he also does a bunch of other stuff without his normal persona that I've really enjoyed. Like, I'm probably one of the few, people that really, really liked him in Unbreakable and Glass. Like, you can say what you want about those films, but like, to me, him as a character in those was still enthralling. Like, I actually like him as Mr. Glass, and I'm sure that we can see, a version of him that's less caricatured, but still fits.
Yeah. The one F-bomb kind of scenario, like the problem is that most times it's used for comedic effect, and I think that kind of robs it. It robs the impact of a word like that. And you and I use it relatively regularly. Me especially, not on this, but ultimately I think that if it is going to happen, Andor would have been a great environment for it to be used to really hammer something home. Like the first time you hear a swear word in like a Marvel movie, you're like, damn, like it means business. It kind of just it elevates it from fantasy to somewhat reality, where you're like, wow, okay, they swear like you and I. Like there are bad words and they choose to use them to emphasize a point.
I think that it has to be one of two. It either has to be the comedic relief, which is the more common one, or it has to be something that sells the seriousness, but not necessarily with like an emphasis on like, oh, it's adult language, so it's an adult situation, but just more so that like it's exactly the same response that you would have in the moment, right? It's putting you into the show by saying what the audience should be thinking or feeling, right? So like if you've got a situation in Andor or whatever and something happens and he's saying to himself, you've got to be kidding me, but now you drop in the expletive in front of it and it's just like a natural thing. To me, that's one of those things that just sells the like, this is exactly where the audience should be mentally, sort of thing.
Well, here, I'm going to put this into perspective. You look at Andor as a show, there are at least 4 or 5 characters that come directly to mind that would use the F word, and you wouldn't even bat an eye. Luthen, I think, would do it. Mon Mothma, I think, when she's talking to Luthen and she's trying to set things up, I think that her dropping one just hammers the point of like, damn, this is important. Andor, obviously, Andy Serkis's character in the prison.
Yep.
Like, let's be real.
I was also going to say, speaking of Mon Mothma, I could see it coming out of her kid, because there's that tension, that family tension they have there. And, I remember what I was like as a teenager.
Yeah. But to that point, it no longer that's where the comedic part comes in. Like kids swearing when they're, it's like, ha ha ha. Like, well, it's they're potty mouth, but like seeing Mon Mothma and Luthen have that sort of, that important discussion about the rebellion and the spy network and the birth of the rebellion, and there's disagreement and there's so much on the line, and if you have Mon Mothma say something along the lines of where like they're disagreeing to the severity of something, and she just says something along the lines of like, of course I know how effing crucial this is, like that's like, oh damn, that's Mon Mothma. Like we know Mon Mothma from the OG series, where she's so soft-spoken. She's almost like, she reminds me almost of, remember that episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns, they think he's an alien? And he's like, I bring you love. Yeah, that's how she in my mind, that's how she looks. She's just this soft-spoken presence. Many Bothans died to bring you this information. I bring you love. And then, like, that's kind of like, if she drops an F-bomb, you're like, damn, she means business. She's not intimidated by Luthen and all the dirty things that Luthen has had to do in the margins in order to, create and pump up this rebellion. So, yeah, I would like to see Sam Jackson back, and I would like to see him swear. But the problem is that it becomes a Sam Jackson character and not a Mace Windu character.
Right.
It goes on, further question on Spark of Rebellion. Now that the entire set has been revealed, what things would you say you are most disappointed to not have been included? I think the fact that Tantive is missing is particularly disappointing, especially as it was the first thing you see on screen. Also, really missing there are no Bothans in the set. I guess they all died to bring us this information.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. Hope you really enjoyed yourselves at the community event. Regards, Simon. We did, dude. It was incredible. Thank you very much for setting that up. Tantive missing it's a glaring omission. But what I want to just establish for people is pacing. There are so many incredible characters. We didn't get Anakin. We didn't get Ahsoka. We didn't get Babu Freak. We didn't get Maz Kanata. We didn't.
I mean, Qui-Gon, Maul.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's okay. We're going to get multiple versions of them, I think, for sure. But we didn't get the Executor. So let's be real here, folks. They're coming. They're absolutely coming. And I get it. Tantive 4, right after the scroll, it's under fire. It's being pursued. I get it. I think that it's okay. I'm not disappointed because what not seeing something tells me is like it's going to be in the next set or in the other set. There's anticipation left. If we got all the main characters, if we got all the notable entities from the Star Wars universe, the sets that come out after that will be like, oh, we got, that character who from The Mandalorian that fixes things, that has the pit droids. I don't even remember her name, so that's kind of, I think that leaving some of this undone is actually preferable, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm okay with, some stuff being not in it. There are, I don't know, I guess I would say there are some things that I would have expected just based on other characters that were included, but again, maybe they are just going to come in a future set. So it's weird to me, for example, to see like Lando and not also have Lobot. Because I don't know why, but like I always think of those two. Like to me, Lobot mentally is Lando's Chewie, and I know that's not really the case, but
he's just Paul Schaefer.
yeah. So stuff like that. But I don't know if I would say that I was like disappointed that they weren't there. Like if you're talking about places as well, and the Forest Moon on Endor, right? If you're talking about characters, we didn't get any Ewoks.
I think that's going to be a set, dude. I honestly think
none of the bases are in Dagobah, right? So like Dagobah as an entire planet is, unless I'm forgetting one, but
I firmly believe what is the most impactful, incredible set that came out of Star Wars CCG? Think about it.
And that's a loaded question because obviously all the stuff that was Jedi training was really important, but also all the mains like with their weapons.
Okay, but those were all kind of like add-ons. They weren't expansions. They were just kind of one-offs, like a 10-card drop that you had to buy in singles. The most impactful set that ever came out is Death Star 2. It was an entire set circulated around one event, which was the Battle of Endor.
Right.
Death Star 2, you had the Executor, and here's the thing. You got your first ever printing of the Emperor. They went like 8 sets without printing an Emperor. People are like, what are you waiting for? Hello? And then Luke as a Jedi, which again, another thing where they're like, when are we getting a full-powered Luke? That was the first time that we got that in that card game. So what I'm thinking is, when it comes down,
I was wrong. I need to correct myself. I was like, I don't think we've seen Dagobah, but then I was like, no, I think we did. It was it's one of the Vigilance common bases. So I just want to correct myself real quick.
I opened it. Dagobah Swamp.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see Dagobah. I think what we're gonna see is we're gonna see like a themed set, like where we're gonna get all kinds of stuff from Endor. We're going to see Chief Chirpa. We're going to see Wicket. We're going to see some scout troopers and all this stuff. We're going to see more ATSTs and an AT-AT. We'll see the Tempest Squadron, What I'm hoping for is more themed sets so that we can kind of like explore more. But we already know where we're going next, shadows and stuff like that. So it's going to be more fringe stuff, is my opinion. But this is the part of it that I'm kind of very happy about, Charmer, is the fact that I have confidence in the game where I'm like, you know what? If we don't see it this year or next year, I know the game's going to be around for a while. We're going to get there. And I'm happy about that. I'm happy to pace myself. I don't want too much too soon. I don't want to spoil it. And that's okay.
Yeah, my wallet can't handle it already. So
yeah, that's also.
Let's just start with that.
So thank you so much, Simon, for your submission. Charmer, what's up next, man?
Bombs. That's what's up next. Oh, wait. Actual Bombs is the name in the Discord.
Yes, join the Discord. Join the Discord.
This one was in the Discord by Bombs. Mailbag question. Probably a week early, but are there any cards you're hoping to open in your pre-release sealed packs that have interactions or combo off each other that you think would be fun?
Very good question.
This is a great question.
Yes. I was able to... So this wasn't sealed, but it's the same thing in limited. I drafted... I think my pack 1 or pick 1 was Jabba. And then I was past pack 1, pick 2. I was past... what's his face? Oh, my God. Ibutaka Bujaba now. What's his name? Why can't I remember his name? His right-hand man. The guy who took the throne after he died. Holy Moses.
Oh,
I can't believe I forgot his name. Please don't.
Wow.
You also forgot his name. So
I'm
he's
picture him.
The Twi'lek. Oh my God. Anyways, I got past him. And they have synergies.
Oh.
Who is it?
Bib Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna, thank you. I was like, it has something to do with money and fortune. Anyway, I opened Jabba and then I got past Bib Fortuna. So for me, I was like, let's just do some fun cunning stuff. And then I basically was drafting like asteroid sanctuaries and waylays and stuff, like any tricks that I can get, which are a lot of fun. But I think that for me, the combo that I want more than anything is not necessarily centered around a card that I have to draw. It's going to be leader stuff. And I will say this, Tarkin and Imperials is so freaking good. So I will say this. This is my answer officially. In my sealed pool, I want to open Tarkin, I want to open Veers, and I want to open a lot of low-to-the-ground nonsense Imperials, and I want those Sentry Walkers so that I can give them all experience points. That's what I want to do.
That's a good answer. Tarkin with just the 3/1 Stormtrooper is so good in sealed because there's not, at least right now, like there is in other games, a lot of that cheap, like, pay 1 to deal 2 damage sort of removal. So if your first turn is I play the 3/1 and then I give it an experience with Tarkin, that's already an outstanding start in that format. So that one's great. My cheat answer is that I want to open a Showcase Iden or a Showcase Sabine, but not because of any card combos, just because they're gorgeous.
Well, yeah.
They're some of my favorite characters. As far as like more traditional combos, I'm a big fan of the... How do I want to put this? I'm a big fan of, there's like a Vigilance package and Vigilance Villainy. Now the problem is a lot of the cards are rares. But even if you can just get one of them, you can kind of exploit it. So like Del Meeko, Gideon, and Iden, those 3, obviously they're all from the same game, right? But they all work together incredibly well. So at the sealed event, when we were at the celebration, I opened a Gideon, and he was a house for me. Just a very effective ball of stats that also gave, I think by the time he was gone, he gave me an 8/8 worth of stats between the experience tokens I gave out and his body, right? So like getting him and then combining it with the other parts of the vigilance package, whether it's like make an opening, like that card's really fantastic. Obviously stuff like takedown and vanquish are also really good. That sort of thing can be just oppressive in a limited environment. Similarly, Aiden, obviously you're getting the healing triggers. I know she's a rare leader, but that can be really impactful. And then Del Miko kind of just does all the things you want if you're in that vigilance area. So those are usually things that I would get excited about. I also would get relatively excited, I'm being honest, if I opened any of the cheap Force users and then like the lightsaber, like the Jedi lightsaber. So when I say the cheap Force users, Ezra is an uncommon, and it's very economical to throw just a regular Jedi lightsaber on him and have him go to work.
Kanan,
but
I think.
even, yep. So Kanan is a 4-drop, already in the same aspect traits as well. He can go to work, but even the common 2/2 that reduces the cost of upgrades you play is fantastic if you can pull it off, because you can it's Guardian of the Wills. Yeah, Guardian of the Wills. That's the 2/2 for 2, and then if you drop a lightsaber on it, that's still a Force unit. So going into your next turn with a 4/4 that can give something -2/2 means you're probably taking control of the board very early. So stuff like that.
Feels good to me. There's so much that I'm just super into. But yeah, I mean, if you're just looking in a vacuum of some cool cards that aren't like rares or legendaries that you want to open, Green Squadron A-Wings do some work. Those 4/3 troopers that have a shield on them, like those are disgusting. Or they have Sentinel, 4/3 Sentinels.
No,
or something.
yeah, the 4/3 Sentinels.
Those things are
in Heroism and Command.
Filthy. Absolutely filthy. Those cards are
Yeah.
disgusting. Tyler Parrott, and you're
I was gonna
probably
say,
listening.
Tyler did that draft.
Yes, Tyler's probably listening, laughing about it, because the dude drafted, I think, 6 or 7 of them. He was right to my left, and I wasn't in those colors. I wasn't going to play those colors, but this schmuck absolutely was, and he was laughing about it. He wasn't even hiding it. He's like, "Oh, another one. Do I just draft it?" And then I think he showed like Josh or Jim or something, and they just kind of laughed. They're like, "How did you manage to get all those?" But this is, again, they've drafted it 1,000 times. We were new. I didn't know, but those cards are great. Thank you, Bombs. Thank you so much. Next up, T-Bird ASDF asks in the Discord. Go join the Discord. Given the wording of the comprehensive rules, in brackets, I'm a rules nerd here, have read it twice already. We love you. We'll hook you up with Josh Scott. Josh Scott, the rules and policy manager at LSS who makes Flesh and Blood. His story is incredible. Do you think it implies that we will never see leaders that deploy to the space arena, or do you think that it is worded that way to make it a pleasant surprise in the future? So I don't know what the wording is. I will be completely honest with you. I don't remember it offhand. I would imagine that the wording says something like deploy it to the ground arena or something like that. But in general, Charmer, you can go first on this one. Do you think we'll get space leaders?
I do think we will at some point. And I think that right now the rules are written in a way that just reflect the current state. And I think that for 2 reasons. One, it does preserve a surprise for if we ever get to that point. But also, one of the things that rules are meant to do is make things as clear as possible to players. And if you can't do it right now, then your rules should reflect that. So I think that as far as like an onboarding tool, and you're trying to teach new players how to play with this set 1, it makes sense that it would only say to the ground arena, because that's the only place that they can go right now. But I do think at some point we will likely get we'll either get a space leader, like in the form of them piloting a ship, or we might also, like, to get around it, we might get something where like you deploy the leader and the leader goes to the ground, but it's like understated, and then you create like a token, or you just search your top 5 or 10 cards for a spaceship and deploy it, right? So you might get like a 1/1 on the ground leader, but their come into play trigger is or it could be from hand or whatever, right? We put a spaceship into play, that sort of thing. It's so obvious to me. I would be shocked if we never get some sort of interaction with the space arena from the leader standpoint.
I agree with you. I think it's coming. However, it has to be done in the right way. You cannot just sprinkle one or two space leaders. You have to release almost an entire set of space leaders to catch up. Because if there's just like two on each side and one of them is inherently way better than all others, and once that leader comes out in space, you basically win the game because it's almost unanswerable, that can be problematic. You have to give options. You have to almost build an entire space-related set. So when we're talking about earlier about Death Star 2 and Star Wars CCG being like this amazing thing, what if there was a Death Star 2 set where it's like your 6 leaders on each side is like Home One, Redemption, the Millennium Falcon, Gold Squadron 1, Red Leader, things like that. And on the other side, you've got the Executor, the flagship Executor. You've got the Death Star 2. Maybe that's like a 12 resource leader that comes out and it's like a 2020 overwhelm or something like that, like something crazy. Ultimately, the problem is scarcity and sort of trickling it in, because if you have something that is just inherently better in space than anything else that's out there, you'll build around that. You'll play a whole bunch of bombing runs and super lasers and stuff like that to keep the ground clean. You drop your big boy on, you drop your leader in space, and then it could be lights out from that perspective. But I sincerely believe it's coming, and the rules will be revised to reflect and accommodate it. But at the end of the day, it's got to be something where it is almost the primary focus of the set is to bolster space. Because right now in set 1, it's a ground-based game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's great space units, but it's a ground-based game.
I can't wait for us to get a leader that deploys to space in some rickety spaceship, and it's Chief Chirpa. Like somehow the Ewoks found some left behind starship.
Dude. Like, we've launched a chimpanzee into space. Like, I feel like that we're on like the 4th or the 3rd sequel to Planet of the Apes. So we're not far, man. Like, they took on an entire like legion of Imperials.
I mean,
with sticks and stones, like literally sticks and stones.
Yeah, but also they had a little yub nub, right? They got the elbow grease, if you will.
Why do you make yub nub sound like it's like they were all on speed? Oh, we're all on yub nub.
I don't know. Why did they make the Jedi sound like midichlorians were an STD, man? I don't make up the Star Wars rules. I just play some jats and move on.
That is a good option. Thank you, T-Bird, for that one. Last one in the mailbag. I'll do a little bit of skimming to see if maybe we missed one, but hit us with the next one.
Yeah. While you're skimming, I will let us know. This comes from New Jersey. I'm going to say Damo. So I apologize if that is supposed to be like Damo or Damo or something, but I'm going to say New Jersey Damo. The mailbag question is, how are each of you planning on organizing your SWU collection? Rarity, mono aspect, dual aspect, type, etc.
I'm getting my binder, so you do it. I'll show you how I did mine.
All right. So this is actually, I think, a really interesting question because there is no like Dewey Decimal System for card games beyond like set number stuff, and very few people do it truly by set number. Almost all of us have something that just works like the way our monkey brain works. So for me, when it comes to my bulk, so commons and uncommons and whatever, they will likely go into 4-row boxes with dividers, and I will sort them by aspect combos. So if it's like just vigilance, that's a row. Vigilance, heroism, like that's a row. And then also divided by set and etc. Mostly because I do that instead of by set number. And a lot of the set number stuff, I think for set 1 already adheres to that anyway. But I won't pay attention to the set number. I'll still pay attention to the aspects. But the reason I do that is because a lot of times when I'm deck building, that's my go-to, right? So if I'm saying like, hey, I'm building a deck around these 3 traits, then I know to search the areas where those traits are. And that just makes sense to my brain. Now, the exception to this is when I am trying to put together my one of everything set. I will do that by set number. I'll probably get one of the binders that is 4 wide. So 12 per page instead of 9 per page, because it's going to be a regular foil, hyperspace foil, right? So 4, one of each across for each card. And I'll just do a one of as like my attempt at a master set. Who knows if I'll ever actually pull it off, but that's the way I'll organize that. But everything else, like when it comes to like my bulk and stuff, I'll do that by aspect combos.
I think that's a good option. I've done so many different variations of how I want to do it, and ultimately, when it comes down to it, as somebody who plays and likes to play competitively and has to continuously change their deck from week to week, month to month, I need to know where my cards are. So I started by just having a binder with all, for example, I'll use Flesh and Blood as an example because that's what I've collected the most of. I had a binder that was all the Majestics, and I used to do it by class, but then there were dual classes, and then there were classes with talents. So it became a little bit more of a mess. And I still had to go into my long boxes of each set to fill out the commons and the rares. So ultimately, I actually did this about a month and a half ago. I took all the cards out, and I sorted them into play sets and just put them in binders based on number. So set 1, Welcome to Wraith. Card number 1 goes into card number 1 slot. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is what I have done right here with Star Wars Unlimited, which, if you can see, is all the cards, all the sets, etc. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, priority goes to hyperspace cards, and then the base sets go behind them. Foils, no dice. They didn't make the cut. However, like you said, I also have this. It's a binder that is 4 wide, and I'm slowly filling it up with my hyperfoils. Now, these aren't going to be in any particular order because they're so scarce, so I'm just putting it in there. But this is going to be like my showcase binder. This is my Watto's shop, if you will.
Yeah.
Or Unkar
I think
Plots.
it's important to have a binder that says, like, you hand it to your friend and say, this is why you should play the game.
Oh, yeah. It would be this. It would definitely
Right?
be this. But like as
And
it stands
you
right
should
now,
attach. You should have like a thing on the side for sunglasses. Be like, put these on. You're gonna need it, right? Because the foils are so shiny.
I actually get to do something right now. I actually get to upgrade my collection because I'm taking out, as we look at it right now, I'm taking out my non-hyperspace Boba Fett.
And putting in the hyper.
And I'm putting in the hyperspace Boba Fett. So this is also like part for me is the little satisfactions of, I've opened so much Flesh and Blood in my life that when I go to a pre-release or I go to a draft or whatever, at the end of the day, unless there's a card like a Majestic or a Legendary or something that I really want, I ask everybody at the event, I said, who needs cards? And usually there's somebody who wants them, and I just give them to them because the set has been completed long ago. There's no more of that. But for this, man, I'm like, there's mission to it. There's progress. I'm going to be still hunting for cards from set 1 long into set 10's release, I think. And I think that goes a long way just for the cards. But to answer the question, my friend, it is a binder per set, 3 ofs in each slot, or like the max amount of playables per slot in order of the set number at the bottom right corner. That way, when I'm building a deck, it's like, I need Regional Governor. Regional Governor's in Spark of Rebellion, card number XYZ. I know exactly where it is, and all my copies are there. It's mainly for facilitating, not to mention, if you want to just look at a collection, just be like, hey, here's Spark of Rebellion from 1 to 2 something. Like, go for it. Have a look. I don't think we have any more questions. We have a lot of suggestions for future episodes. Again, if you want to reach out to us, you can do so at Ice Cave Radio on Twitter, at WatchFlake on Twitter, at ThatCharm3R on Twitter, at GGDOA on Twitter. But also go to the Discord. That we are there. We want to hear from you. I'm in there chatting all the time. We got a lot of suggestions for future episodes. Here's the thing, Charmer, is like you're talking about, like it feels like we've done this forever, but there's still so much that we have forever to go.
For sure. I mean, I'm not hurting for excitement or content or any of those things. If anything, right now I'm just hurting for time. So, speaking of the Discord, I was trying to be active when we first stood it up, but this week has been hell. So if you are in our Discord and you were wondering where I've been, I apologize. My work week has been very, very demanding, and I've had to be in the office physically. And when I'm in the office, one, it's this giant building and the cell signal inside is awful. And I work with government secured data and so forth. So like I can't, they have everything locked down. I can't connect to the Wi-Fi. And even if I could, I wouldn't be able to load Discord on it and blah, blah, blah. So basically like, when I message Flake or Doa during the day, I have to like take a break, walk outside to the parking lot, and then like send a few messages and then walk back inside. And that's been my experience this week. So I feel bad because I just want to talk about Star Wars a bunch. Like I'm so excited. It's 8 days until pre-release.
We have incredible people there. Don't worry about it. You are obviously missed. I'm not going to be saying otherwise. I post char memes all the time. There's the one of you and your blown motivator. There's the one of you and I sharing a hotel room when we're on the road.
This is how bad it is. I was getting caught up on some of those, and right when we were starting to record, I was like, "Oh, I saw this." And so that when you were like, "Hey, are you ready?" and I said, "I am now." I had just hit enter on a reply.
Oh, did you?
Because I was like, "Yeah." It was for because somebody posted the GIF of him eating Kenny Rogers roasters.
Kenny.
And it reminded me of that conversation that we had when I had said that, like, we loved Kenny Rogers roasters because we had one near me, and you were like, "Wait, that was a real thing?"
I had no idea, dude. The guy is.
And I was like, "Yeah," and it was actually kind of good.
How the hell am I to know that the Gambler decided to make a chicken shack? Like, what the hell, man? I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Still, please go check it out. The Discord link is going to be in the description of this video or in the description of this podcast episode. If not, the Twitter account has the link there. Join us. There's 100 of us now, and it's growing, and it's incredible, and we just love to talk Star Wars. So by all means, there's plenty of amazing people there. So some of the topics that people want us to talk about, they want like top 10 arts that we think, or top 5 art that we want to like, that we like out of the set. There's some of the fundamentals of deck building. What are the initial steps to building a proper deck? There's a lot of things that we are going to get to, and I promise you all, we are going to get to this stuff. The issue is like, again, we are scattered around 2 different countries. Doa's moving out west. We are trying to put as much content out as we can, but our priority is this show. And we're going to try to get you some more stuff. But you've been in the lab building decks. I've been in the lab building decks with Doa. There's a really cool... I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil it, actually, because it's not my thing. So I'm not even going to say it. We'll just let it happen. But,
yeah, we'll just let it happen. But there's a reason that deck building has occurred. And it's because we love the game, obviously.
Obviously.
And not for any other reason at all. It's funny you mention, us being strewn about. But another reason that I don't think we have put out deck building guides and whatever yet is because we don't even have consensus amongst ourselves. Like I didn't have time to have like the good discussion because again, like I'm outside in the parking lot on my break, but like, we have a lot of discussions amongst ourselves even where it's like, well, I think this, well, I think that.
Yeah.
And then and it's fun though, right? Like that's the beauty of card games.
Charmer is of the ilk that Palpatine should pair up with aggression. Doa and I believe it should be vigilance. Fireworks ensue. One thing let's find some common ground. It is definitely not cunning. Unless it is, in which case we were both wrong.
I feel like if you're going to play a control cunning deck, you just play Thrawn at that point, though.
Yeah, no, you definitely
do. This was specifically looking for a Palpatine pairing.
Yeah, we got to have Palpy. All right. Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all Star Wars U appropriate ages, for tuning in to Ice Cave Radio, episode number 36. Every week, every Saturday. We're excited, man. Pre-releases are happening. Then the big shebang. I said good news, bad news. I was in contact with some of the higher-ups at SCG. They said that, no, there will not be any Star Wars U at SCG Con Philadelphia, but they are going to make it happen for future SCG Cons. Good news, bad news. We love that. Oh, boy. Before you put on your robo voice, anything else you want to add before we sign off, say sayonara?
Oops, I did it early.
Oh, you guy.
Just kidding.
There's the F-bomb. It was about to drop.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
What the are you even doing over there? No, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anything else. I'm just really, really excited. Every day inches closer. And I think one of the big reasons that I myself am personally excited, and I know you know this, I've shared it with you, but I get to take my oldest son. So Stark is super excited. And so for this first one that's on Friday, I might actually get to go to 3 that weekend because I found more that are happening locally. But for sure on Friday, me and my son have signed up for one of our locals and we're going to go. And so, yes, it's exciting because of the game and everything, but also like this is the first time I get to take him to a pre-release for any game. And I don't know, there's something sweet about that. I'm glad it's Star Wars.
That's such a... Look, I don't have kids. I'm not planning on having kids. But I love Stark to death, and that is something that I almost wish I was there, just to be there with you, with Stark, to actually have this happen. And unfortunately, that can't happen. But there will be so many... This is a game where I'm excited to... Like, I'm sure you have... This is going to be infinitely more important to you. But if ever... Imagine casting a match of Stark on camera, playing at a tournament, you and I casting his match. How incredible would that be?
It would be so awesome to call him losing to Brody Spurlock.
Brody by then is like 28. He's got 19 championships under his belt.
He's also like a 250-pound linebacker because he started working out. He's got brains and brawn.
That's not fair, man. Oh, God. Who's going to be the Brody Spurlock of Star Wars U? It's probably going to be Brody Spurlock.
Probably.
It's probably going to be Brody Spurlock. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for tuning into Ice Cave Radio. Don't forget, leave us a 5-star review. It goes miles, and your reviews have been so helpful. We love you so much. We recently surpassed 40,000 hits across all platforms. We're approaching 50,000. It is incredible what you guys have done for us and the community. We love you very much. We will see you next time on Ice Cave Radio. Charmer, wisdom, make it happen.
May the Force be with you.